Well, let's shift gears a bit and speak about COVID-19 and sports, as COVID-19 may cost America's three largest sports leagues, that's the Major League Baseball, National Basketball Association, and the National Football League, as much as $13 billion in lost revenue. For sports fans around the world that watched on television, Major League Baseball's World Series and also the National Basketball Association's championship finals were both compelling events. However, what was not so compelling is the huge revenue hits global professional sports incurred in their pandemic-ravaged seasons. Well, joining us now to dissect this is sports analyst Babatunde Koiki. Good morning, Tunde. Many thanks for joining us today on Newsday. With the projected revenue hits of $13 billion facing these global sports franchises, are there any risks to the organizations being able to maintain their costs?
Well, absolutely, there are risks, considering the fact that when you look at any of these sports organizations, their revenue comes from basically four sources. The first is media, whereby the TV contracts and broadcast contracts come into play. Secondly, there's also the commercial angle, where there's merchandise, where there's commercial rights, basically. There's also merchandising, and don't forget, there's also, very importantly, other aspects as well. So they basically get their source of funding from four sources: TV, merchandising, commercial, and also gate receipts, which means that fans who come into the stadiums can also pay. Now, all these four that I've mentioned have taken a major hit because fans have not been able to join in the action. And live action is an important, integral part of sports because the fans in the stadiums, they come in, they bring their money. There's a small ecosystem in terms of finances that has grown around sports organizations and sports franchises, and also basically live sports. Don't forget, the $13 billion that you're talking about comes from only three sports: Major League Baseball, the NFL, and the NBA. We haven't mentioned the NHL, which brings in another $5 billion. I'm not even talking about the NCAA, which is also responsible for almost another $20 billion. So a lot of these sports organizations are hemorrhaging money as fast as possible, and the outlook has been pretty bleak for a lot of them.
Indeed, and no thanks to COVID-19 as well. But along the same lines, these sports organizations have taken a lot of debt to finance their stadiums and manage other infrastructure. So how will they be able to manage debt in this period?
Well, that's another very interesting question. But don't forget that the Trump administration put up a $2.2 trillion COVID-19 stimulus package to help certain organizations. And I think some of these sports organizations actually qualify for that. They can get as much as $10 million in terms of debt financing from the government, from the $2.2 trillion that the Trump administration they announced. They can get up to $10 million. And in fact, the LA Lakers and NBA franchise actually got as much as that, but they've actually paid it back. And also the fact that, some of these TV contracts are guaranteed for quite a while also helps their cause. But there's also the problem that if you do not deliver on an agreed schedule, if you don't deliver, for example, if the NBA is supposed to broadcast 55 games, but because of the COVID-19, they can only broadcast 30, there's a shortfall of 22. The broadcasters would definitely ask for their money back. So these franchises also have to pay money back to the people who have paid for rights, broadcast rights, who have not received value for their money. But on the long-term prognosis, from what we've seen, many of these contracts, especially TV, have guaranteed that some of these organizations will still remain afloat and still be able to service their debts. But the truth is, we have to find a way whereby they can get fans back into the groove and thereby continue to make money, thereby they can continue to exist as a growing concern, because this is a major problem that has affected sports all over the world, not only in North America, also in Europe as well. Football has taken a massive hit, and so it's imperative that something can be done as quickly as possible to ensure that this scenario that we've seen, unprecedented, I must say, can be ended as quickly as possible. Don't forget that there was also the 2008 financial crisis. Sports managed to ride that. There was also the fallout of the 9/11 crisis as well. Sports managed to ride that, but the COVID-19 has proven very clearly that even sports is not immune to major disruptions in the market.
Indeed, Babatunde. Let's discuss baseball, basketball, and maybe look at the National Football League and European football. baseball's World Series finals and basketball's NBA championship finals were played, just like you were referring to a while ago, in empty arenas. Now, the National Football League and even European football leagues are playing right now in empty stadiums. Well, this means lost ticket revenue. The question then is whether broadcasting revenue can make up for the loss in live attendance.
That's an interesting question, because from what we've seen from the Baseball World Series, we saw a 31% drop in viewership. That's massive. Even the NBA finals that were just concluded as well, we saw a massive drop, as much as 51%. What this means is that the coronavirus has even affected viewership of major sports. People's attention spans have dropped even further than before, which means that many of these broadcast organizations and even the organizations themselves, the sports franchises, have to start looking at more creative ways of keeping fans engaged for longer. But thankfully, like I said, many of these contracts are guaranteed for a long time, and because of the fact that some of these sports might not be able to deliver on the agreed terms of the contract, they might be forced to pay back some monies, which was why you saw the NBA did everything as quickly as possible to rush back, create a bio bubble to ensure that the season was ended and the playoffs actually took place. So, which means that the broadcasters who had paid almost, I think, $9 billion for NBA, $12 billion, I beg your pardon, for the NBA, also managed to get value for their money. But this can only last for so long, because what we've seen, what we've seen from the analysis has shown very clearly that viewership patterns have changed tremendously, and that might affect these sums in the long run.
Many thanks to you, sports analyst Babatunde Koiki, for joining us today on Newsday.